Hello, everyone. You are tuned into Did I Do That? Late night here in the studio. It is 10:30. Is that late night for me because I usually go to bed at 9:30? For sure it is. Is it well over 90 degrees in the studio? Absolutely it is. Is this one going to be coherent? Not at all. Not even a little bit. But I wanted to pop in before this one, which I've selected for a very specific reason, which you'll hear about in a minute, because we've got a couple of big announcements. The really, really big one is that Did I Do That is actually going to have a live show. We're going to be on stage, on the main stage, no less, at Seattle Design Festival in Seattle, Washington, not to be confused with all the other Seattles that you may have visited coffee shops in, trying to find Dr. Fraser Crane himself. But we are going to be on stage in Lake Union Park in Seattle, Saturday, August 17th, 2024 at 4:15 p.m. This is a free and open to the public event. But if you are going to be in Seattle because you live there or, around Seattle for other reasons other than living there, I would really encourage you to attend. That is going to be Saturday, August 17th at 4:15 p.m. And you can find more information about that show and all the other stuff that's happening at Seattle Design Fest on their website. It's seadesignfest.org. That's C as in Seattle designfest.org. It's going to be a really cool time. And if you can't make it, I believe they are going to be rebroadcasting all their main stage shows as YouTube content a little later on, kind of after the main live weekend is wrapped up. I also wanted to take this as an opportunity to share a couple things that weren't in that newsletter here as well. My Fontroversy co-host and I, Lena Hall, are going to be hosting a talk on Fontroversy and on sort of making media about type specifically as a way to teach people about type. Shh, that's the secret of Fontroversy, is it's about teaching people about type. Anyway, we're going to be talking about that on Thursday, July 25th at 3:30 p.m. at Revolution Hall as part of TypeCon. That event is only open to TypeCon attendees. So if you are not registered, if you don't have a TypeCon ticket, you will not be able to attend. But if you are wanting more Fontroversy in your life, what I have to say to you is stay tuned because there will be more news coming out soon. The other event that's kind of connected to that, though, which is open to everybody, is Future Fonts and Friends. That is the big party for TypeCon. Last year, I put on the Making Mistakes Confessional, and I will be back doing that once again. That is free and open to all. That is happening Thursday, July 25th from 6 to 9 p.m. At Outlet at 2500 Northeast Sandy Boulevard here in Portland, Oregon. Again, free and open to all. Future Fonts and Friends party. There's going to be a whole bunch of other really amazing events from really cool friends of the show and also just, great design folks as well. But that also brings me to why we're replaying this particular episode, because actually in honor of Future Fonts. Future Fonts is run by Lizy Gershenzon and her partner Travis Kochel. Yeah, I thought it would be great to actually revisit Lizy's episode from way back. I was just looking at this in 2022, April of 2022. So it's been almost 2 years since we aired this episode. It is a really, really fun just like conversation, a whole bunch of digressions, just a really wonderful story. If you've ever wanted to learn about the Rainbow Passage, apparently this is the episode. This is the episode for you. I think this is a really fun one, and I hope you enjoy it. Now here's the show.
I remember we would sit at the park, have a blanket, and have food.
As business partners, of course.
And we would be thinking up business names for our design studio. Watching tennis at the park.
Hello and welcome. Wait, do I say hello? I don't remember. Do I say hello? It's not on the card, but I want to do it. Welcome Did I do that? It's a show about the mistakes that we make on the way to making design because it is all part of the process. I'm Sean Schumacher, and joining me today, a very special guest, one of the founders of Future Fonts, one of the managing partners at Scribbletone Studio, the co-owner of Vectro Type Foundry, the co-founder and product designer at exif.co, the co-founder of We Make Portland. It's Lizy Gershenzon.
Oh,
welcome.
Thank you so much, Sean. That was such a sweet intro. I appreciate it.
Well, you do a lot of things. So on the blue cards of host that I'm required to have, like normally people like have one thing.
It's hard.
Yours is like 5.
It's
and there's
hard.
definitely things that I cut out from that list.
It's hard. I know. I don't know how to describe it either. My one-liner's not good.
You do a lot of things.
Yeah.
That's I mean, I think that's a skill in and of itself.
But I'd say the majority of my time right now is spent helping manage Future Fonts with my husband and partner, Travis Cockle. And Scribbletone has kind of become that. And then we're also trying to really start pushing Vectro and getting custom typeface work and building our catalog with that as well and releasing new typefaces. And then also I contract as a product designer at different places. So I'd say most of my energy is being spent towards those 3 things.
Future Fonts is, I think, one of the most useful things for students, especially for type out there, because you can get type while it's in development. You're kind of like kickstarting it, but then you get it and you get to use it. I know, like, for a lot of our students, that was kind of their way into actually having good typefaces. You know, you could get a typeface on the ground floor and then it blossoms into this beautiful thing.
Well, that's so sweet of you to say. Thank you.
It's true, though. It's a huge deal.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a big deal, too, because it's like more than just Travis and I running this thing. I don't know how many foundries, but
it's a lot now.
A lot of foundries on there that are trusting us with their work, that we're trying to help put spotlights on them, that we're trying to help get them more money on their independent projects. That's really precious that they trust us for that. For students, one thing they might want to know is a lot of the foundries allow discounted or free student use on their trial fonts, especially.
Oh, interesting.
You might want to double check because not everyone does, and that will tell you, or you can email us also, especially if it's for student work. If it's for client work, that doesn't apply.
Yeah.
But if it's just for student work, a lot of people will just be like, sure. The PSU students do so many cool things. Like I'm looking around this room too, and I'm like, I usually love, because there's a lot of color, there's a lot of energy. They're usually making things that they're passionate about.
Yes.
So there's a lot of great use examples of Future Fonts, and they have fun with the fonts, and that's really fun to see.
They're fun forward. I've definitely hung a lot of their work to counter the aesthetic of moving blankets and weird foam egg crates. But I think it's like one of the rites of passage to get into type. Like if you're a designer, or even if you're not a designer, if you're somebody who just wants to learn like what's going on in the type world more, or get a better sense of what type possibilities are, Future Fonts is a great way to like look and see like, oh, you can do that. Oh.
Well, I'm glad you think that, because like we try to make it more approachable. Designers share their process. You kind of get to see a little more upfront. It's not such a precious process as what it felt like type design used to be a little bit more.
I definitely didn't really know until the last couple of years, like what was actually involved in type design and how you would go back and redraw and rework as you're building. Like,
yeah. And it's a long kind of project you kind of pick at and you tweak it. And then like the system kind of uncovers itself after some sketches and like putting in a few letters. And then it's like you could just draw the letter forms in Illustrator or on a piece of paper, but like you need to make it a typeface. It kind of has to become more of a complete system. The spacing.
Yeah.
Like spacing is so important.
Yeah.
In the quality of how a typeface looks and
it's make or break.
Yeah.
Like you download a cheap thing from DaFont and you're immediately presented with some realities of how important that is.
It's like music where those breaks are really important.
Yeah.
To make like an elegant flow gray space in the page. And you can layer on these like more complex, dig in a little bit. There's even like variable fonts and open type.
Oh yeah, that's
features.
a whole new. The open type stuff is like programming too.
I don't know Yeah, this is Travis's territory. This is where Travis shines. I wish he was here right now with me to kind of go through, because I know it at like more of a surface level because I'm not doing it. I don't design typefaces. I know that, and I should, and I probably will eventually. My focus is more in the digital product world and business world. I kind of like, and strategy and getting like marketing pieces done, especially when it gets to the coding. Like, since Travis was both a designer and a developer, it was a good fit for him, this kind of typeface design, because it's actually software that you're kind of like a plugin for all of the design. You could think of it that way. But yeah, he likes to push not only the letter forms, but the technology side of a font and the production and the tools and like what you're capable of exploring in that tech side of it.
Chartwell, I think, is the example that I always like to pull out to students. Was that one of the earliest Scribbletone?
That was the earliest and probably the catalyst for why we created Future Fonts.
For those of you who don't know what Chartwell was, so Chartwell is a typeface that essentially you enter a formula and then it uses magic. It's formula, and then step 2 is question mark, and then result is like an actual chart, like a good looking
it's actually like
chart.
So you type in a string of characters. So you have, if you had a pie chart, for example, you do 10 plus 20 plus 70, and then you choose, like, do you want it to be represented in a bar chart, pie chart, rows chart? There's like, I don't know, over 10.
There's a lot.
There's a lot of charts. Line chart, radar charts. There's a lot of cool fonts. There are charts on there.
Yeah.
And then
charts that would be hard to make in some
very
cases.
Hard and hard to edit. And then you like click on the open type, which is usually like to make alternative letter form. Like
if you want to like bring in swashiness, say,
yeah, something like that.
A different kind of A.
Like FI ligature. So like connecting them, or ST. And so that was what it was traditionally used for. And so Trav was like, oh, this could be fun. So you take that string of characters and then you click on that open type button in InDesign or Illustrator, and it turns that string of characters into a pie chart or whatever chart you chose. So
and it's like watching magic happen.
It's like watching, and the interesting thing, so there are thousands and thousands of glyphs in there.
Yeah.
And so Travis created tools. For example, a pie chart has like a pie slice of like 1%, but you need to have that 1% in 99 different spaces or 100 different spaces. So he generated this code. I don't know if I should be whatever.
I can cut it out. It's a trade secret.
But he would generate that in a million different places.
Wow.
Through code. And so he was able to create all these complicated chart combinations that are easy to edit and really useful.
Yeah, and beautiful. Like,
and
you're not fighting against Keynote for 2 hours trying to make it look halfway decent.
Yeah. The genius of Travis is he like, I mean, there's a lot of genius of Travis. But with Chartwell, he saw it, like he got it kind of into fonts. He like learned what was needed to make it, and then realized this part of it could be explored into something. And then he was considering, all right, I know what it's capable of doing. What would be useful?
Yeah. This
was like 10, 15 years ago when Chartwell was created. And so like annual reports, he'd been making annual reports at a design studio he used to work at. And it was so annoying in InDesign.
So, oh God, in InDesign.
Because you can't, it's hard because you have to like export them, or you have to draw them.
Or that fucking awful table thing that it has.
Or the table, or like Illustrator.
It's piece of code from 1983.
Yeah, so that was kind of in the back of his mind when he created Chartwell.
Yeah.
And he was like, that could be something useful as a font, and fonts can be anything that supports OpenType can use this. So it's agnostic to the software.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's Travis. So 1 year with Chartwell, we were making royalties from it. And 1 year we had a really good year with Chartwell, like unexpectedly, like blew out everything else. And Travis like, we're really making a lot of money on this. We should work on fonts more.
That was it. That was the catalyst.
Well, it let us start working on our own products.
Yeah.
That monetary freedom, in addition to a little bit of savings, it was like, all right, we have a little bit of cash now saved. We can start making our own products. And then that introduced us to the type world because he won some awards for it. And we met some people, and there's more to that story, but it was one of the things that helped us have the time.
Wow. It was a pretty huge kind of home run to start out with.
Yeah, it was a big...
We did a thing that doesn't seem like it should be possible to do.
Yeah. And he like between Chartwell and then he's had some other cool typefaces, and then now Future Fonts, it feels like there's cool stuff to be done. And we seem to keep figuring out these little opportunities.
Yeah, we're a long way past the Massimo Vignelli world of like, we only need 5 typefaces. Why would we ever need more than that?
Yeah.
Which was always bullshit, but
yeah,
appealed to me at a certain point in my life.
There's something like, I feel like my wardrobe, I kind of think like sometimes I like my staples.
Sure.
Like you've got the black, you got the brown, you got the nudes, you got the like those. But then you have your flair pieces.
Not pieces of flair, not buttons that you're wearing to
that could be
show off how good you are a server at TGI Fridays.
You could do that. That could be a flair.
Yeah.
But like you might have jewelry, you might, and like layer on top. So there are different approaches, but I'm also like probably pretty traditional in some ways, whereas other people just like go for it and like use it more as artwork.
Yeah.
Like incorporating it into the artwork and the personality of the artwork, which is super fun to see. And I'm like looking around the room and there's a lot of that. So I'm doing hypertext too.
Do you want to tell people what hypertext is?
I would love to.
It's great.
Okay, so hypertext is like an experimental type specimen for future fonts. And I like to think of it as a yearbook for future fonts that represents the new releases during a time period. Usually I'm doing it every couple of years. So it's not just 1 year. I think this last one was 2019 to 2020. All the future font releases.
Your graduating class.
Well, it's not the graduates because we have the graduates.
It's the freshman class.
It's the freshman class. It's the new releases. And so it captures a moment of the fonts that we released that year, because fonts also take years to finish. We can remember which ones we launched that year, who the designers, the foundries. It like captures all that in a booklet. Each one we've had is a little bit different, but I also like to think of it as like capturing a slice of that like energy of the time, both the period and then also of the artist and of the design culture of this period, both of type design and just like graphic design. Granted, it's curated, but that's what I like to think of it as, like this little memento that's a memento of this period.
It feels like such a perfect encapsulation of what is at that peak, each of those moments.
Yeah. So Bijan and Fisk did our first hypertext, and he is so talented. His studio is so talented. I love all of that. Like they create work that's inspiring and fun and like has such good energy and is thoughtful.
Yeah. Beautiful and weird.
Beautiful and weird,
just
and
perfectly married
and personal, and takes risks and has fun with it, and is colorful and has a lot of energy, like super smart and very thoughtful. So that was like a really scary thing for us because we had never hired out a big project in our budget and world, because we would normally do it because it's cheaper. And
well, and I think
we're designers. So I think we saw Bijan, I don't know, we were at PNCA.
Our hated rivals. No, they're fine.
They're wonderful too.
We're jealous of their building for sure.
I went to a talk at PNCA and Bijan was there, and Travis and I had been talking about like, because Bijan was having such fun parties and just like creating this vibe in Portland and just like a fun hub, a community hub.
Yeah.
Which I feel like PSU does. Like there's different hubs. We Make used to do it. Design Week was doing it. But like Bijan and Fisk had its own community nurturing funness.
Yeah.
And he does work with type. Any of the designers we choose for hypertext, we want to make sure they work with type. Like it
seems like an important requirement. Yeah.
And they have a lot of fun with type.
Yeah.
And so he was the only person really in our mind at that point. And so we're like, all right, we're going to go on a limb here and ask him to do this like marketing idea we had of something wacky and experimental and fun, see what he did. And he just blew it out of the water.
Did you like have anything at that point, or was it just like,
no,
we'll figure it out?
Trav and I wrote a brief, and it was like we were trying to just like make it real loose but inspiring, of things that we thought were cool but weird. Just like to
do you remember what was on it?
We wanted it to be like David Lynchy.
So it's vaguely sinister, but also kind of campy.
Or just like David Lynch, I just feel like he expresses his own vision.
Yeah.
We wanted them to just like highlight the fonts, but do it in a way that really was a creative expression of what they wanted to work on.
Absolutely.
Bijan came back to us with this pitch. I want to do hyperfood. I'm not remembering all the hypers.
Was hyperfood the one that was like a grocery store flyer? I love that one the most.
Yeah, I think that one has stuck the most. Hyper Age. That was like a new agey one. I think I pushed him on that one more than he maybe wanted to do that one, because I really wanted something new agey. It felt of the time for me, but he wanted to do like hyper race car or something, and that we didn't end up doing that one. We chose 3 of them. So the motto at Future Fonts is everything's in progress because we release fonts in progress. We like to have that in the back of our mind as well.
Yeah.
Hypertext 2 is a little bit different because we hired 9 designers to all do a spread. Like they each chose 10 fonts, and then we assigned them based on, because we didn't want overlap. We wanted to use all of the fonts. They had to choose a theme, and we interviewed them, like, why did they choose this theme? How did they like working with all the fonts? What are they doing? So this one was interesting because the fonts were from 2019 to 2020, but we started the project in 2020, right as COVID.
No.
Yeah, which was intentional. That was intentional.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, that was by design because we're like, we need something productive.
Yeah.
Where we can like meet new people that we find interesting and see how other people are doing and just have something positive for ourselves and hopefully for the other designers that are working on it, because we wanted it like low stress. We didn't want to put a lot of stress. We're like, here's the criteria, but there's really wiggle room with the timeline. It's not immediate. I'm still working. So I just am wrapping it up right now. It's a long project in the making because I spend way too much time polishing.
I think that's the thing that we have in common.
Yeah.
We were looking at my door sign out there before we started recording. That sign, which I believe only my guests see because no students venture down into this sad, forgotten hallway. That was, I want to say, iteration 30 of that.
I believe that. I believe it. I mean, there's nice overlap on it. There's good composition.
I tried very hard.
You got to choose what fonts
are
on there. It's difficult. Those things are not easy.
No. And then you got to choose colors, and that's its own annoying thing.
Oh, colors really stress me out.
And then you go to print it, and the colors are wrong, even when you know how colors print.
It's one of the reasons I think I went more towards digital stuff than print.
For sure, me too. Yeah,
because it just stressed me out having something go to print.
You can fix it if it's digital.
Yeah,
the web is always in progress, but a printed thing, you mess it up, and boy, you get to see it forever.
And it's thousands of dollars of a mistake for a client. Like I just. That really would stress me out, and I have people read it over. When
you're uploading a website, like you press a button and then, okay, it's alive now and people can visit it. No one will be at that moment, but eventually, in theory, they could. But like you send something to print, you're uploading it to a weird FTP server because all printers exist in a land before time. Like if there was a way that I could fax the file to them, I'm sure they'd prefer it that way. And then you don't hear anything for a long time. That's truly a dark period.
And it feels like there's endless choices. So like you figure out the design like anything else that's similar to web.
Yeah.
But then once you're done with it, then you got to be like, all right, what paper stock?
Yeah.
What printing techniques? Do I want to make this a little special? How am I going to bind it?
Are we going to get any finishes in there? Ooh,
yeah. Are we blind embossing? Are we going to foil stamp?
Yeah.
It's just
Does this need to be mailed? Because that's its own horrible nightmare.
And then what envelope do we put it in? That like how much is postage going to cost? There's like an endless.
Oh God.
Who's going to ship it?
Yeah, who's going to do the pre-sorting? Because it's a cheaper mail rate if we do it that way.
I don't even know what that is. And then you like I don't even know.
Be glad. You don't want to know that world.
Then like what stickers do we put on the envelope so that it's cool when someone gets it?
Yeah.
It's fun. I feel better about the print projects just because I'm more confident as a designer anyway.
The thing was, it kind of flipped at some point. Like the changeability of the web when I was a young person and had infinite time to do all kinds of needless things felt magical. At some point, the fact that I could change it forever became a liability because my brain could not release itself from the responsibility of changing it forever. And when you have one project, that's great. When you have 20 projects, that's real bad.
Yeah. The other thing I realized with the web too, the bigger you make a product, you keep wanting to make new features. And so if you didn't make it right the first time or pretty, and it's the same with typefaces probably too. And you, at some point you want to redo it anyway.
Yeah.
Because it needs to be updated or there's new considerations to design around. So now the bigger the project becomes, then you're like, well, I do want to get this right because if I don't, I'm going to have to go back instead of moving forward.
It's terrifying. You feel like you're never really making progress. Maybe it's always been there, but I feel like with the web now, you're treading water at best all the time.
I think I used to find it more terrifying.
Really?
I mean, I say this and Trav's probably going to roll his eyes at this. I think... And I think that's why we do everything's in progress kind of thing.
Yeah.
But to kind of lean into that and not make everything quite as precious as we do. But we still like to refine. It's like my eye's gotten better. So I need to refine it more. But I kind of, at that stage of the project, I like it a lot more than I used to. It used to really stress me out because I was insecure about it.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's like, all right, let's keep polishing because...
You can see the finished state in your head.
And I've already made the hard decisions. Like the harder decisions was just like starting the project.
That speaks to the fact that you're probably a better project manager than I am for my projects.
No, it's just like...
You're making better decisions in the front that support your decisions at the end.
That might be generous. I think it's at that point I already see it. And so it's like I'm excited to get to the finish line with it. And so it's like cleaning out your closet or like having a new project in your home where you're like paying for it is hard, figuring out those like first step decisions. But then once you you're like, oh, it's almost there. It's almost there.
Yeah, that can be its own form of magic. You were going to transition into the work that you brought.
Yeah.
What work did you bring?
So I brought my graduating yearbook.
What, really?
Yeah, I brought my yearbook.
From high school?
From high school. I graduated in high school in 2000.
Oh my God. This is the first high school yearbook that we've gotten.
So the reason I brought this was because this was like the first organized design project that I really did.
Had you had like any sort of design type of thing in your high school, or was it just like, here you go?
I mean, now that you're asking that, there was like a book we had to make in elementary school. And I mean, this was early days of computers. So my family had a computer. We were very fortunate to have a computer. And I printed it on that like zzz,
the dot matrix.
Yeah. And then you had to like make a book of it in like 6th or 7th grade. And there was like a book competition. My book was not very good, but I think my actual, like the written part of my book was not very good. But I think the like cover and stuff, I remember spending a lot of time on that. So that was maybe earlier. But like this, I worked on a team. We all worked together. We had a yearbook office and the newspaper crew was in there too.
Oh, wow.
And
publication space.
Yeah. And I was, I'll put in quotes, hooking up with one of the guys in the newspaper office. So it was just like a very exciting and like all my friends.
Incestuous.
I mean,
your trouble's going to be afoot.
And we had an office. Like, offices are important.
They're special. They make you feel important, like you're doing important work.
So my parents are divorced and live like a couple blocks from the school, both of them. So the like yearbook office was like my home base. Like I kept my clothes there. I kept sports uniforms. I kept just stuff. Like I had a locker.
This was the hub of your life.
It was my home base.
Yeah.
There was a couch in there. It had a cool window. We'd like wrestle in there. It was just a fun space.
I assume the newspaper crew is like working to churn out a student newspaper like every week or something like that.
Something like that.
Were they printing them in this space too, or is this strictly editorial?
This was strictly editorial. We each had like a desk section and like a computer and craziness.
Individual computers. My God, well, so fancy.
Not individual to individual to yearbook, individual to newspaper.
Oh. That feels a lot more like the schools that I knew. Yeah. We've got 2. That's enough.
No, it was a beautiful one of the best offices I've ever worked in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was like the first, I'd say, more structured, kind of important outside of just my personal projects thing that I worked on. And I remember thinking, because when I went to college, I didn't know what I wanted to be. I didn't go to a design school. I went to University of Wisconsin in Madison.
What did you study there?
I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I liked the yearbook because I liked working with my friends and creating something that represented a school that I really enjoyed and all my greater circle of friends. And I really enjoyed that. And so in the back of my head, I'm like, I want that sort of environment. I didn't know what that would mean, but I kind of wanted that environment. So I was like, okay, so I took a lot of these courses that were like a hybrid of philosophy and history or history and literature. Like they were these hybrid courses. I like that a lot.
Interesting.
And I also always took art classes. Like I took a ton of ceramics mechanics courses. In high school, I did more photography. I took a little, I don't even know if I took photography, but that was like, I was focusing on that more in high school because of yearbook. I took this like new drawing, oil pastels, and all those things. And then I really wanted to go abroad to Italy. So at that point, I had no major. But I was like,
how deep in the program were you at that point?
This was sophomore year.
Okay. You're nipping at the heels of needing to have one very soon.
Yeah, but I was like checking off like all of my prereqs.
Oh, all that gen ed.
Yeah, so it
business.
didn't really matter because I could go into a lot of things. But I then wanted to go study abroad for a year in Italy because I saw this Stealing Beauty movie and I'm like, oh, I want to go to Italy.
I mean, I want to go to Italy and I haven't seen that movie at all.
Well, it's with Liv Tyler. I don't even remember the movie. It's probably not that great of a movie. But I loved the food. Really, that was what did it.
Yeah.
And I thought I could find love. Those were the two more
this was this was an Eat, Pray, Love. Is that the one that takes place in Italy? I don't remember. One of those.
I don't know. It might. I just wanted.
Under the Tuscan sun.
That was my mindset of like, let's have an adventure. And those two things seemed important in that adventure.
Yeah. It's a life-changing moment.
Yeah. I'm like really going on tangent. But so.
No, I love it. You heard this show.
So yeah.
There's no linearity here.
Yeah.
Check your linearity at the door.
Yeah. I was like, well, what sounds fun to study in Italy? And of course, it's art and art history, right? No question.
It's the headquarters.
In order to graduate in 4 years, my major became art. I got a Bachelor of Science in art.
I mean, that's less goofy, I guess, than my Bachelor of Fine Arts in Fine Arts, which is literally.
That goofy?
It's so repetitive.
It is repetitive. As a copywriter, you wouldn't enjoy that.
Yeah, maybe make one of those. Just make the second one just art. Why does it need to be fine art?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's also not really what I majored in. So.
Yeah. So I was an art major.
Yeah.
But I really took all of my art classes in 1 year in Italy.
Wow.
Which was amazing.
And that was enough to make the degree.
We really could just like meander.
Yeah. That's how these things go.
Okay. So the yearbook.
Yearbook.
Okay. So this was like the first. So it was special in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Start of a new millennium.
It was 2000 when I graduated, which is something.
Yeah.
And it was also the year of the cows in Chicago.
I'm sorry, what now?
So Chicago had, and I think other cities did that afterwards. And I think they
yes.
like were inspired by a Norwegian city that had done it as well.
Yeah.
I may be getting that wrong. It's been a while.
Somebody had to start it somewhere.
But so they had artists decorate these cow sculptures.
Yeah. Giant plaster, like full-size cows.
Full-size plastic white cow sculptures that they could transform into anything they want. Cows, like there's the Chicago Bulls.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like, there's the
jungle, the famous book.
With a cow?
Well, I think cows are a component, but maybe not. The cows are kind of unwell, I would say, in the jungle. That's sort of because it's about the meat packing.
Yes, the meat packing. Oh, yes. I was not putting together what I was like, yes.
Wait, now that's just occurred to me. Is that why that can't be why the bulls are the bulls, right?
Oh, I don't even know.
Just down to meat packing.
Maybe, but that's
grisly if it is.
I would like to think not.
Let's hope not.
But not out of the question. But then
it is just the cow head that's the logo, and there's
no, it's not that. That's not part of their brand. It's like the charging of a bull.
Okay, so it's not, the cow doesn't have X'd out eyes, I guess.
No, it's not about a dead cow.
No.
But the meat packing, okay, I didn't even think about that. But then there's Mrs. O'Leary's cow.
Oh, sure.
That started the Chicago fire.
People love that.
A lot of great cow. I don't even know if that had anything to do with the cows of the sculptures, but I just like, there's more cows in Chicago.
It would make sense.
Or it's a nice coincidence. But so I pitched to the group to make the theme of our yearbook. So, and there's a little golden cow on the spine. And
there is a little golden cow on the spine.
In gold foil.
Oh my God.
Moo. And all of the like
M'00.
And then like all of the like theme pages are like the different grades posing with a different cow sculpture.
These are so this is definitely a photo that is indoors, I think, right?
This was in our school. So
these cows are in your school.
We just had one, but there were like, we went around the city. Every grade has a different cow picture, if I can see it. So some of the other editors weren't as excited about Moo as I was.
That it truly was a group project.
But see, this one's outside.
Oh my
we
God.
went to different places.
This is so the listeners at home know this is a full glossy spread of just a single giant cow photo with two students. Or actually, there's four. There's two under the cow who do look like they're being trampled. They're not having a fun time. But then flanking the front and back, there's just two very chill students.
So there's the twin cows. We got twins. So like for the sophomores, so we had some for the juniors, we had one for the sophomore. Like every grade had its own full spread title page with a cow and the students from that grade.
That's amazing. How did you recruit the students?
Well, we were yearbook editors, so we had power.
That's, yeah.
This is my brother. That was my brother and his friends. I was very focused on this theme.
Yeah.
Like there was no swaying me. I thought it was genius. I was like, it's that year of the cows. We're graduating 2000. Moo.
Yeah.
It's got to be Moo. And the other ones were like, I don't know. Like maybe it's too goofy. We want something more prestigious. I'm like, we got to lean into this. So I did not let go of this idea. And so like eventually it just, I think some didn't care at all. Like weren't that like upset about it. But I remember me and my friend were kind of discussing. I don't know how hard she pushed back, but I don't think she liked it as much as, if I remember correctly, I don't think she liked it as much as I did.
Moo are here.
Moo are here. Yeah, so each grade, especially the high school, has a different spread. The lower school and middle school are kind of grouped together.
Your school went all the way back to like elementary?
Yeah, it was.
Did I just see kindergarten as you were flapped?
It was a kindergarten through seniors.
Oh my God, that's so many levels.
Yeah, there's a lot. So it was a big yearbook. I mean, we didn't have that many people.
Up above you, I've got PSU's yearbooks from the era when they did yearbooks.
Uh-huh.
And that's thicker than those. Yeah, the Vikings.
Yearbooks are cool.
Yearbooks are very cool.
So cool. Is this not a cow one? But but this
It does say "Got Milk" in the corner.
So
That's
this is
sort of
an ad. So this was also the year of the Got Milk ads. So all of us, if you notice, have a milk mustache on the ads title spread.
What?
So
there's no like sponsorship from the Milk Council.
No, we probably should have asked them if we could use that ad, but parents would pay for a full page, those were our ads.
Like the one celebrating Nathan there.
Yeah,
Nathan.
Nathan.
No last name, just Nathan.
So yeah, this was a very special kind of first design project for me. That's my friend Rachel Terp, who is also the yearbook editor and is still one of my best friends. She's an amazing illustrator.
Yeah.
But it says Moo in it, and she did all of the like default fallback image.
It's a very swirly cow. It's like
hypnotic.
That's just like the signatures page on top of it.
And something that I'm still like, there are some things like this is not that I'm like, oh, I feel bad about that.
What?
I feel a little bad. I mean, I'm proud of it too, but I feel a little bad that I steamrolled the Moo theme.
Well, you say that, but I don't feel like aesthetically there's a lot of Moo.
But I feel like there were some most likelies that people were not happy about and kind of upset about. And I don't even I still feel bad about it.
Really?
These
were unwanted most likelies.
They were just not what they wanted to be remembered. Or maybe it's me internalizing and they're not even thinking about, probably most likely they've never thought about this again. And then we turned ours into the best most likelies you could possibly want.
Okay.
Just kind of because we're we're going to do our own most likelies. Let's just make us the best.
Yeah. What did you elect yourselves?
I mean, those I'll read. You don't have to. I mean, I'll read I'll read Rachel's. One of my best friends is Rachel Terp, and I'll read hers. Rachel Terp, to design and build the most unique structural edifices because she is the strongest, smartest, and has the most beautiful soul ever.
You weren't kidding, huh?
Yeah, here's mine.
Yeah.
Lizy, to bring sunshine and joy to all she meets because she's the sweetest, freest, most beautiful, strongest, smartest, and has the oldest soul ever. then
That's very
Amy.
beautiful.
It's very beautiful. Let me find Amy's.
And I can say that's not braggadocio. That's
not braggadocio.
That's literal.
Here's Amy's. And like, it's funny. So Amy's is to rid the world of all pollution and save all organisms from extinction because she is the kindest, strongest, and most beautiful and intelligent person ever with the most gentle soul. And she does stuff for the environment. Like, some of this stuff came true. I think I brought this because county fair. Because I feel like I'm really proud that my life has kind of come full circle in a lot of ways, where I work with my husband.
Yeah.
Like, my favorite projects are projects that are with friends about something I care about and create little quirkiness in some ways, like future fonts, and reflect the community I like to be a part of. And like, we make Design Week Portland. These have kind of like turned into the projects of my career that I've liked. And I think it's because this yearbook and like my friends on the yearbook, we all made this stuff together and all complemented each other really well in our skill sets.
It's just this perfect encapsulation of who you wanted to be.
Yeah.
That was really amazing. You also, when I was looking back through the email chain, you sent two very cool things.
This is actually a good spin-off to that Wacky Date one.
Oh, yeah. So in the background, as we've been talking, there's been Wacky Date the whole time. Tell us about Wacky Date.
Okay. So this is great because it's also about Travis. Which maybe I'm talking about Travis too much, but... He's a big part of my career.
Yeah.
And my life.
You've been partners in many ways for many years.
I'll go way back. Travis and I met on Craigslist.
All right. How?
Well, so Wacky Date was a client I believe I got on Craigslist. I just started freelancing.
Okay.
And that's where you found gigs, like projects was on Craigslist.
Yeah.
And so I had been actively like searching for projects, and Travis, I don't know if he posted in the jobs section. I think he might have. And he posted like, I'm looking for another designer for the summer. I'm off school to bounce around ideas with at a coffee shop.
Oh.
And so I texted, and he's like, and I might have some projects to like pass off to you, or that we could work on, or that you could have, because my schedule's filled up. Yeah. So I email him right away, because that's the go-getter I am.
Yeah.
And
you knew nothing else about him.
Zero. I mean, that he said he was in the summer from school.
Yeah.
I gathered he was a student. So I was like, okay, age range, okay. And I just was like, go, 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 and stressing out and applying for jobs. And so I really loved the idea of like working with someone.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I'm in work mode. It'd be so nice to have someone that is in it too, in that mindset.
Yeah.
And so I was like, let's meet. And he's like, okay. And I'm like, and actually he's real smooth on like Instant Messenger and on email. He's really good at that.
Was this AOL Instant Messenger days?
This was, but I think this was just an email.
Okay.
And I'm like, do you want to meet in 2 hours at this coffee shop? I'm like, do you want to meet at 2 hours? And he's like, okay. I'm like, choose a coffee shop that you like. And so he chose a coffee shop because I'm like, I got to get it done.
Somebody else is going to scoop this guy.
Which he was talking to other people.
Really?
And I was just like, let's meet. And I like, he was kind of like interviewing. So I'm like, let's meet. Because I was working.
Yeah.
I'm like, if you're working, let's just meet at a coffee shop. I love going to the coffee shop. It'll be an afternoon treat.
Yeah. It sounds like a perfect place for this kind of meeting to occur.
Yeah. So we met at a coffee shop. I remember walking in. He's wearing his cargo shorts and his like Cubs shirt or some like used shirt he had. And then like his backpack looked like a student.
Sure. What year is this also?
Oh my goodness. So I graduated college in 2004. I was a branding assistant for 2 years, so 2006. So it was probably 2007 or 2008.
Okay.
So he was getting his mocha, which was his drink of choice at that time. And we met and just started talking. And then every day afterwards, I would wake up, go to his apartment where he had 2 roommates, like it was my business day. And I'd work out of his room.
You had the all hands meeting, of course.
I'd go to his, we weren't even working on the same projects. And I would just be in his room with his cat, who's our cat now.
In his apartment
every day from like 9 a.m. to like 6 at night.
Was there any hint that it would eventually become a romantic partnership as well? Or just...
So anyone that knows Travis knows he's kind of like a quieter, not very in your face. So his roommates were like, who is this girl that just keeps showing up for 8 hours a day to work in Travis's room?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, where did he get her? And I'm like the exact opposite, where I'm like making myself at home.
Yeah, yeah.
So Wacky Date. date was I found that job on Craigslist. So 2 weeks into working together, he asked me out on a date and I said no because I liked our business relationship. And we would sit. I know, I get so in my head. So we would sit, I remember we would sit at the park, have a blanket, and have like food.
As business partners, of course.
And we would be thinking up business names for our design studio. Watching tennis at the park. And my roommates were like my sister and my best friend were like, who is this guy? So then a couple weeks after that, I don't know if I should tell this story.
We can cut it out.
It's fine. It's just like out of nowhere. So like my second cousin had just started dating someone and she wanted to go to the gospel festival and have me meet her partner. So I was like, oh, opportunity here. Travis wants to go on a date with me. I'm going to have him go on a double date
to the gospel festival.
To the Millennium Park Gospel Festival with my second cousin and her new boyfriend. I'm like, if you'll go on that date with me, that could be our date. And he's like, okay. He actually made it such a sweet night. He chose a restaurant for us to get food. We held hands. And like, I had never really had a guy treat me that way before. I feel like most guys at that age never showed that they liked someone, which is unfortunate and really sad in a lot of ways. But
it's vulnerability is not something that people who are raised as masculine in this country have generally been trained to do until very recently.
It's hurtful to be on the other side of that.
Yeah.
But I also don't know if they even they were like so scared. There was like a fear that like we were going to trap them. Like they just did not want a relationship, at least the guys I was dating. So Travis, I just felt always very special with him. And he's very romantic and I felt very safe and he's creative. Anyway, so Wacky Date was a client I had. It's funny that all of these are like so personal in a way.
I mean, there's some good show meat coming out of this.
Yeah. I'm not an illustrator. Earlier in my career, I took on some more artwork type of websites where I also created the artwork.
That's very stressful.
It really stresses me out because it's so personal and opinionated.
Yeah, I kind of felt this when I started in design. I did so because I wanted to be a cartoonist, but I was not a very good cartoonist at all.
And you got into digital even though you wanted to be a cartoonist.
Well, whenever I would try to incorporate my like illustrations into things, supposedly the thing that I was trying to do, I would be like so anxious and so like, oh God, I'm not doing it right. I'm not living up to the expectations of the 3 webcomics that I'm reading.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's hard.
It's really hard and it's really personal.
Yeah.
Whereas layout and solving a problem for a website.
That's a perfect description. Yes.
Is easier for me.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels abstracted. It feels like the thing is not emerging fully formed out of your head like Athena out of Zeus. This is like you are cobbling together parts and pieces to make this thing. And it doesn't,
when you're representing someone else, you're more representing the problems they're trying to solve versus the energy. Like, I mean, there's also the energy in it, but like with illustration, they're either choosing you for an illustration style, which I didn't have at the time. So it was more just like, what style did they want to do?
Yeah.
And could I execute that? And I couldn't do that very well.
Oh, no.
Or at least I felt like I couldn't do that very. So this one, I mean, she let me do whatever style I wanted. So the 2 people are me and Travis.
Really?
I mean, mirrored after me lightly. Like that's kind of like my house window the apartment. I mean, loosely. This is very loosely. Like I took liberties of things, but.
To describe this is the website has wackydate.com written at the very top. I would maybe not encourage you to go to that URL right now because I don't know what is there and it's probably just something sketchy. You got a cloud and then underneath the cloud are Travis stand-in with some flowers held behind his back, ringing the doorbell, and then peeking out of the window next to the door, there's Lizy hand on window. I'm guessing that you were so excited that you ran immediately to the door to look out.
And I wanted to see what he was wearing.
Yeah.
No, just
And
kidding.
he anticipated this because he's hiding the flowers so that they'll be a surprise when you open the door.
That is, I'm really bad at getting surprises, actually, and he probably knew that. And I remember he did send me this really sweet bouquet of flowers when we were first dating.
Oh, really?
And
were they like this, or?
No, I don't think it was like those flowers. But he had a Bukowski quote saying, it's something about being crazy and like what a wonderful world it is, or that it makes it interesting because we're weird or something. And that was the only thing on the card with the flowers. I wish I remembered the Bukowski quote. I might even have that card somewhere. But so, and then the other thing with this, wackydate.com.
Yeah, what is wackydate.com?
There's a couple.
We keep breezing by. We're talking about aesthetics and not content.
Yeah, it's kind of a community. It was the era of communities online. Friendster, Facebook had just started. There was MySpace.
But it was like college only. It was not.
It was college only, but there were those kind of sites popping up where there were these community hubs.
Yeah.
And this woman had this vision of like people sharing their dating stories. And I was in that mode where dating took up a lot of my brain in my early 20s. It was kind of the first startup-y product that I was involved in that wasn't really a marketing site or just housing things like an educational site. And people would submit their stories and you could search, and it was kind of like a forum for dating stories, horrific, wacky, crazy dating stories.
Yeah. Thank God, because I was worried for a minute that it was going to turn out to be like you'd go on a wacky date with someone. You're spinning a wheel and then, it's the clown. Hi, everybody.
No, it wasn't a matchmaking site.
Okay, good.
To find. It was tell your dating stories. And it was fun because it was like a little bit more complex of an interactivity site than your traditional out-of-the-box marketing templates.
Yeah. That sounds very cool, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was how that site is a personal piece. They're all my personal pieces here.
I love it.
I put a little of myself in all the work.
Honestly, what more could you ask for? I'm realizing that our recording is now over 2 hours.
Oh my goodness.
I'm so sorry.
Oh my goodness, you're editing. I'm so sorry.
That's what these are. That's why it takes 8 hours.
I'm so sorry.
If I were smarter, I would make the show longer, but I'm not smarter.
I am so sorry.
No, this is not your fault. This is
I'm a
you
talker.
were done, and then I meander. Here's some JPEGs.
I'm so sorry.
No,
you could just cut it after that.
No, you did so great. This is really wonderful.
I mean, I love talking about this. I thank you for being interested. I'm like, could talk all day long apparently on all this stuff.
As though I can't. I think that's what this thing is ideally when it works good.
There's too much to talk about.
Lizy, if people want to follow your works, where did they go about doing that?
That is a very good question.
And phrased in a normal way that people normally speak in. Absolutely. Yeah.
There are a lot of places to follow our work. My personal handle is Lizy Joy, LIZYJOY. Then there's Future Fonts at Future Fonts. And then there's Vectrotype. And then there's Scribbletone, but that's not as active. I'd say Future Fonts, Vectrotype, and Lizy Joy are my most active ones.
And Future Fonts is futurefonts.xyz if you wish to browse the catalog on the internet.
Good plug. Yeah.
It's really great if you are new to type, or if you're old to type, or if you're middle-aged to type. It's a great place to find type.
Thank you, Sean. And Vectro, we're starting to take on custom type work too. I'll make that plug.
Yeah. So if there's any listeners out there that want to commission a beautiful new Vectro typeface, that can be arranged.
Yeah, for your company, you can then have a typeface that speaks to your identity.
You get to have something that is truly your own, and you don't have to worry about some other competitor swooping in, like when Apple used Myriad and then every other tech company used Myriad.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you so much for being here, Lizy.
Thank you so much, Sean.
Thank you for spending a beautiful day in Portland, one of the few we've had this year in this windowless box.
Absolutely my pleasure. Thank you for doing this for me, for the community, for our companies, like for everything. Like really sweet of you to spend so much time, energy, and your talents on this.
Thank you. My talents in air quotes.
That is not in air quotes. No air quotes.
Well, thank you. And thank you to the listeners. But if you did enjoy this show, why not leave a review on the service that you use to listen to it? It could be Apple Podcasts. It could be Spotify, although I don't 100% know that you can leave reviews. It would be great, though, if you could just go to like just a random song, just thinking of a song just out of thin air. The Friday song. I don't know why that's Friday. Yeah, you just go to that one and you leave a review about how great it is. And similarly, I would love it if you went to mine and left a review about how great it is and how much you enjoyed it. Because as a person, it does make me feel good, but also it helps people find the show. And also tell a friend. As you might imagine, there's not billboards that I can make for podcasts. They hear about them from friends, and you are a friend to several people, I'm sure, at least, maybe more than that. If you also like the show, you can follow us on various services such as Twitter, such as Instagram, such as of yesterday, LinkedIn. What? Yes, that's right. I went through the extremely cumbersome process of creating a LinkedIn page. My God, they've really made that hard to do for no reason. But if you want to follow us on those services, you can, and then you'll get to see cool images, not of the work, but just of kind of random things that we talk about in these conversations. This is a program called Did I Do That? I'm Sean Schumacher. This is called Did I Do That? And I'm Sean Schumacher. And this is called Did I Do That? Okay, that's the end. Bye. Stupid. Elizabeth Gershenzon.
It's a long mouthful.
Welcome. It sounds very proper.
Does it?
I would say so.
I don't know.
It sounds like the name of a CEO of something.
Ooh, I like that a lot.
Introducing the CEO of eBay.
I love it.
Bad news, you're in charge of eBay, Lizzie.
I like to be in charge, or at least pretend I'm in charge. Yeah. I actually have to angle my mic up, I've realized, because I'm very nasally.
Otherwise you can hear the snorts.
The snorts.
The snorts.
The snorts.
Yeah. These are technical terms from podcast business.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
All right. Here we go. What words can we practice?
Well, we should do. God, there. When I worked at Pica, the sound tech people had this whole thing that they would run through to test.
Yellow
so they
leather.
Would go, blah, 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 testing plosives, sibilants.
Ooh, you have a wealth of knowledge in this area.
Well, I pick up. I think this is also part of the reason maybe that I've trended towards. Is the visual stuff doesn't always stick with me, but spoken stuff will. One thing I think about still 10 years later, my last year at school, I worked at the Department of Risk Management and Safety. I ended up making a lot of safety training courses for them. What with all my safety training knowledge that I have.
They had that. They needed you for the showmanship.
No, I was not a showman in these days. I was a very quiet fellow. I think Kate is ultimately to blame for that. If I'm being honest.
I feel like the longer I become a designer, it's you need to be a host.
Yeah.
For just managing people, making sure people are having a good time on the team and stuff.
It's so people based.
And then also being a presenter or there's skills I haven't been nurturing over the years.
I don't know about that. I think you're very personable.
One-on-one, I am when I first meet someone. But I think maintaining that long.
Well, we're also.
Thank you.
I mean, this is a profession of introverts ultimately.
I wouldn't say I'm an introvert.
To lock yourself away, though.
Yeah.
Away from people in order to create things.
Yeah, I'm not an introvert. I love being around people.
Oh, but the thing that I was going to say, so what stuck with me from that job more than any of the terrible flash safety training courses that I made was the cubicle next to me was the guy who did respirator fit testing for everyone on campus. And when you do a respirator fit test, OSHA makes you read this thing called the Rainbow Passage, which is truly, truly a marvel. I'm going to pull it up. Yeah. So this is a passage of text that you have to read when you are. This is not it. This is much too long.
So who is coming to do this?
These are very large, very burly men who work on the roofs of buildings at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, and need respirators just for their jobs. So like a gigantic guy, a guy who's like 6'7" and just 400 pounds of muscle will walk in and sit down in this tiny, shitty office chair that we have in there, put on a respirator and go, "When the sunlight strikes raindrops in the air, they act as a prism and form a rainbow. The rainbow is a division of white light into many beautiful colors. These take the shape of a long round arch with its high path above and its two ends beyond the horizon. There is, according to legend, a boiling pot of gold at one end. People look, but no one ever finds it. When a man looks for something beyond his reach, his friends say he is looking for the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow."
I think that could be an art video.
It's true. Like it feels like a Ryan Trecarton thing or something. It's so weird.
It's just beautiful in a way.
It's really beautiful, and it makes no sense that they have to do it. And
it's like the visuals of that could be fantastic.
Yeah.